And joining us now, former U.S. Ambassador to Russia, Michael McFaul, and Puck founding partner and Washington correspondent Julia Ioffe. So, Ambassador, you know several of the prisoners who were exchanged today personally, including Vladimir Kara-Murza. He was on MSNBC, this network, just one day before his arrest in April of 2022. And here's what he told my colleague Ali Velshi then.
There are many people in Russia who want our country to be a normal, modern, democratic European state. I think it would be very demoralizing if those of us who are sort of the public faces of the pro-democracy movement, of the opposition movement, would all just leave the country. I do not, condemn anybody. It's everybody's personal decision. But if you're asking about me, I'm a Russian politician. Russia is my country. Russia is my home. And this is where I have to be.
I'm worried for you, my friend. You have been a source of my information for many, many years, so I'll worry on your behalf.
So there he is, and that was before his imprisonment. We've seen some videos of him that is from Russian state media that purports to be, these prisoners moving after this exchange. He doesn't look the same, and there's some reporting about him being in ill health. What do viewers need to know about him and others?
Well, Vladimir Volodya, to me, I've known him for a couple of decades. He's one of the most courageous political leaders inside Russia when he was there. He, as you just heard, he speaks English with a British accent more fluently than I do. And so when he performs, including several times here at Stanford, where I teach, he is a fantastic communicator talking about big abstract things like democracy, human rights, etc. So I think it was a horrible tragedy to anybody who believes in these things that he was arrested. And it is a fantastic moment for the Russian opposition, for anybody who believes in freedom in Russia, that he is now released, in addition to several others. We can talk about others, but on the Russians, and thank you for focusing on them as well, this is a great day. For my friends, for his former lawyers, for those that are welcoming them, this is a great day. For him, Ilya Yashin, Oleg Orlov, other colleagues of Alexei Navalny's who have been released. It's a fantastic day for them.
And Julia, as we've talked about, this was a multi-country effort. Walk us through your reporting on what it took to get us to this point.
Well, before I do that, I just want to add to the ambassador's excellent point, is you also have a young artist who was released, who's 33 years old. She was caught and jailed when Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February of 2022, putting anti-war slogans in place of price tags in a St. Petersburg supermarket, a quote-unquote crime for which she was sentenced to 7 years. She was also released today, which is tremendous. In terms of this being a 7-country effort, I think this just illustrates how important alliances are, and that if you treat them as such, as important investments that aren't a kind of what have you done for me lately kind of thing, then they can pay off handsomely in the future. I think in some ways the White House highlighting this, highlighting the importance of alliances, highlighting the fact that German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said that I will do this for you, Joe Biden, is kind of a reprimand to Donald Trump, a point of contrast to Donald Trump, that, if you act like a loan shark with your allies, you're not going to get this kind of deal. If you go at it alone, you will be alone. But if you invest in your alliances, you can pull off something that is this complicated, that involves over 24 people being swapped and 7 countries, many of whom had to release some really hardened criminals like Vadim Krasikov.
So it was a very complex deal, obviously, involving all these countries, lots of diplomacy happening behind the scenes and negotiations. It was complicated. And yet the president was asked about how he handled this exchange compared to how Donald Trump says he would handle it. And I want to play that moment.
President Trump has said repeatedly that he could have gotten the hostages out without giving anything in exchange. What do you say to that? What do you say to President Trump now, former president?
Why didn't he do it? He's president.
Ambassador, I just wonder, is there any way to get hostages out without doing an exchange? You've been involved in some of the movements that happen behind the scenes.
It very rarely happens. It sometimes happens. For instance, Mikhail Khodorkovsky, when he was in the negotiations between his release, was not about a swap, and the Germans took the lead there too, by the way. But to Julia's point, I mean, the importance of alliances, the importance of relationships, this was a very heavy lift for the Germans. I remember when I worked at the White House, when we did the swap back in 2010, releasing alleged, we re-released spies for alleged spies from Russia. And it was not considered symmetric by our intelligence agencies and our law enforcement agencies. They didn't want to do this. It was a hard negotiation within our government, not just between governments. And I'm sure that's what happened in Germany. And that only happens when you're doing it because you believe that you have a friendly relationship with people that commonly believe in democracy and human rights, like the president has with the chancellor today.
Julia, how is Vladimir Putin going to try and spin this as a win for his regime?
Well, he got some loyal soldiers back. Krasikov, for example, is a uniformed FSB officer. He was caught serving his country, as Vladimir Putin would frame it. And you're already seeing pro-Kremlin voices, loyalist voices in Russia saying that these are heroes, Russian heroes coming home from unfair detention. And again, Putin believes that if you serve the country loyally, and he is, remember, a veteran, not just of the KGB, but he used to be the head of the FSB. He believes that, if you're a hero, you're owed a hero's treatment, and we don't leave, I think in his mind, we don't leave men behind the lines, behind enemy lines. We get everyone home. That's why he was so focused on Krasikov. I will also say that I think Donald Trump's comments about how Vladimir Putin would do this for him and only for him, and that America would give nothing up for these jailed Americans, including Evan Gershkovich and Paul Whelan, I imagine would have ruffled Putin's feathers, that he doesn't like being told what to do. He likes the one kind of setting the tune and being the unpredictable one, and kind of being lectured and told how he was going to do things, I'm sure really rubbed him the wrong way. And I personally wonder if that was a big factor in the timing of this deal, because, again, Donald Trump bragged that as soon as he was elected, Vladimir Putin would just magically release these prisoners.